Hey everybody, this is Jeff with BastionGear.com. Today I'll be showing you how to remove and install your laser engraved takedown and pivot pins. First off, you want to make sure your firearm is clear. Remove your magazine, check your chamber, release the bolt forward, pull the trigger. Then either with your fingers or tools such as a punch, push your takedown and pivot pins out. Remove the upper receiver from the lower receiver and put it aside. Inside your lower, between the takedown pin and your receiver end plate, is a small spring and detent holding the takedown pin in place with spring tension. To get around that, first position your takedown pin halfway into your lower receiver like this, so the detent is resting in the channel between the two holes. Then with a small tool, pull the detent away from the takedown pin and twist the takedown pin simultaneously to take the detent out of the channel, and it can push up against the side of the takedown pin. From your new Bastion pin set, use the pivot pin for the next step. The pivot pin is the one with a cutout side on the head. Making sure the channel is pointing away from the detent and spring, slide it in the opposite side of the takedown pin, taking its place and keeping the detent depressed. Now take your new Bastion takedown pin and slide it in from the correct side, pushing out your new pivot pin. Go fast enough to keep the detent under pressure. Turn the channel towards the detent and your new takedown pin is installed. The spring and detent exist with the pivot pin just like it did with the takedown pin, but this time there's no lower receiver material to stop it from flying to the room and being lost forever. So be careful with this step. Now to replace your pivot pin, first position it halfway into your lower receiver, so again, the detent is resting in the channel between the two holes. Then with a small tool, again, pull the detent away from the pivot pin and twist the pivot pin simultaneously to take the detent out of the channel so it can push up against the side of the pivot pin. I found this AR pivot and roll pin install tool at my local gun store. At this point you might be thinking, if you're lucky and fast enough, you can keep the detent depressed. No. Keep a hand up to catch the detent, or be near a wall, or put up a plastic bag. 95% of the time this part will fly out. If you want to use a small tool to keep the detent depressed, you're welcome to. It's not a guarantee it'll work because the tool can slip out under that spring tension, so we just like to do the installation with the detent out. I've already tried a couple different methods, and personally this is the least stressful. Place the spring back into the lower receiver and locate the hole in the larger tool. let the spring into the hole and place the detent there as well. Take the punch tool and push the detent into the spring. Once it's clear of the pivot tool, turn the punch tool so that the detent is now pushing up against the side of the pivot tool. Now take your pivot pin and push down on your pivot tool, and with your other hand pull your lower receiver up towards your pivot pin. The countering pressures should help keep the detent depressed and transfer to your new pivot pin. This takes finesse and I got lucky, but in case that detent slips out, have something set up to catch it. Turn the pivot pin channel towards the detent and your new pivot pin is now installed.